Well, when a federal judge last week ordered Kim Davis to jail for refusing to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples, almost the entire GOP field weighed in. And tonight we hear from Republican presidential candidate Dr. Ben Carson on Kim Davis's release and on a newly issued apology from Hillary Clinton when it comes to her email scandal. Dr. Carson, it's great to see you again. What's your take on Kim Davis and whether it was appropriate to jail her in the first place?
Well, jail seems a little extreme. I think what we need to look at is how do we stop this kind of thing from being a continuation? You know, when the Supreme Court made its decision, anyone should have known that this kind of thing was going to occur, and it's going to continue to escalate. And Congress now has a responsibility to step up to the plate and enact legislation that will protect the First Amendment rights of all Americans. That's the reason that we have divided government. When one branch does something that tilts the balance, the other branches need to pitch in and correct the situation. This is a serious problem.
But the detractors say that that's a slippery slope, because now next thing you're going to have Catholics who refuse to issue a marriage license to people who have been divorced, or Muslims who refuse to issue a marriage license to people who want to, Muslims who want to marry Christians, and so on. Where does it end?
But this is a very basic right. You know, this is a Judeo-Christian nation in the sense that a lot of our values and principles are based on our Judeo-Christian faith. And when there are substantial numbers of people who actually believe in the traditional definition of marriage, I'm one of them. Doesn't mean that I don't think other people can do whatever they want to do, but I don't actually believe that they have the right to force their way of life upon everybody else, nor would I try to force my way of life upon everybody else. And this is where some intellect has to come into place. And, you know, our legislators need to sit down and ask themselves, how do we make sure that the rights of all Americans are protected? This requires a little bit of effort.
I want to talk to you because I haven't seen you since we saw the Carson surge in the polls. And there was a Monmouth University poll that was released last Thursday that showed you are now tied in Iowa with Donald Trump for the #1 position in the nation's first caucuses as of today. To what do you attribute your surge in the polls?
Well, actually, one of the things that helped tremendously was the debate on Fox, when a lot of people who really didn't know who I was had an opportunity to see me and actually hear me speak myself, as opposed to how I've been portrayed by many in the media who have their own agendas. And as I've been going around the country and talking to people, you know, I'm in San Francisco today, spoke to a large audience here. People are actually able to see that maybe there's some substance there, and this is going to continue to make a difference as time goes on. You know, I'm not competing with anybody. I'm not competing with Mr. Trump, but I do have a vision for this nation, which I think is shared by a lot of Americans. And time will tell as we go on.
Jonathan Capehart of the Washington Post issued a piece suggesting the reason why you are gaining such traction with Republicans is as follows. I'd argue that a good portion of Carson's popularity stems from his ability as a black man to say things that conservative white audiences get attacked for, especially along racial lines. What do you make of that?
Sounds like a pretty typical Democratic response. You know, everything is always cast in the light of race. Why can't you actually look at the content of a person's character and see what they have to say? If they happen to be of one race or another race, so be it. That does not have to be the central issue. But, you know, so many people on the other side see everything in racial terms, and they believe that you have to think a certain way if you have a certain skin tone. Newsflash, that's racism.